When e-readers started to get popular anytime between 2009 and 2014, there was a lot of companies in the business. It's shrunk over the years, but there's still a number of companies that are continuing to make new models every year. Today, we're going to take a look at the top 5 brands still making e-readers that we recommend. PocketBook. This is a company that is based in Eastern Europe, and this is their primary market. They have built-in bookstores. They consistently issue between 2 and 3 different models every single year. They're very consistent in the design. They constantly refresh the design of their e-readers, making them very interesting generation to generation. They run Linux as the primary operating system, so everything is optimized for e-ink, snappy, robust, and although it does not really have like built-in bookstores where you can download like the latest perennial bestsellers, it's primarily used to sideload content. Dictionary support is one of the big reasons why you would buy this. They have Abby Dictionary, so you have like 17 to 21 different dictionaries that you could do, and no matter what market that you live in, there's pretty well a dictionary for you. Onyx. Onyx is a company based in China, but during the last maybe 2 years, the company's really grown into their own. They have issued a number of consumer and professional grade e-readers, where in the past they only focused on the consumer aspect. But ever since the advent of the Onyx book Carta, they started to get more professional in terms of stylus integration, touchscreens, app support, and things like that. The Onyx book Note was pretty well the best e-reader that they ever made in terms of form, functionality, price, and robustness in terms of feature set. They pretty well have focused on professional grade e-readers towards the later half of 2017 and all 2018. They have various degrees of notes that they now have to meet all different types of price points. And I really like this brand because they have been one of the first companies to adapt quad-core processors in e-readers. They were pretty well leading the charge in that department. A gig of RAM, at least for their professional grade products. The first company to use Android 6.0 as a standard, whereas most companies use 4.0.4 to about 4.4 at the max. But Onyx, for their latest, all their e-readers for about the last 2 years have used Android 6.0. This means that you can now have a lot of different apps that you can install. Evernote, Google Keep. It actually has Google Play on these e-readers, so it has the full framework, and you could you have unparalleled amount of freedom. One of the interesting aspects of Onyx is that they've really optimized a lot of the mainstream e-reading apps to be compatible with their devices, such as Kindle. They've eliminated the animated page turns on Kindle, so you just tap and it's an instant page load. It's little features like that that have really made Onyx a brand to watch. Barnes & Noble, how the mighty have fallen. This company was going gangbusters early on in the e-reader revolution, and they have went from $1 billion a year to losing money in the e-reader business. They once sold more ebooks combined than Sony, Kobo, Google, Apple, and they have really decreased over the years. One is the executive shuffle. They've gone through 5 CEOs since 2010, and publishers are worried that this company is going to be shuttering their brick and mortar business. It's getting that bad. So with their ebook and Nook business, they went from tablets, every year, multiple tablets, multiple e-readers, to they release an e-reader now every 2 or 3 years, and they lose a lot of the features compared to their contemporaries, the Kobos, the Amazons, and all those sort of brands. So with Nook as a whole, they're still in business, but they are teetering on the brink. Kobo, they're one brand that consistently has stayed on top of innovation and product design. They normally release 2 e-readers like clockwork every single year, sometimes more. 3,000 stores are selling ebooks, audiobooks, and everything else, and 1,000 stores have Kobo displays where you can actually buy a Kobo e-reader. There's no comprehensive list as of yet, but Kobo, one of their big keys to success has been international expansion. Since they started really releasing e-readers all the way back in about 2009, they have focused on expanding internationally, selling e-readers in bookstores such as Funac, such as bookstores in the UK, in Australia, in Japan. I mean, these guys are like in 84 different countries. The Kobo bookstore, one of the largest in the world, like 4.8 million titles, both royalty-free downloads as well as the latest bestsellers. Their curation in terms of themes on monthly themes, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Labor Day, you know, things like that. They're always sort of curating these best of lists. So whenever you visit the store on a weekly basis, all of the titles sort of change on like the home screen, and they're very themed. Kobo is a company that is consistently on the cusp of greatness, and I believe that they are probably the second best e-reader company in the world. There is a few honorable mentions before we get to our number one, Energy System, a company that embraced Android very early on. For a number of years, they released numerous models, and they had entry-level, mid-level, and pro models. The price reflected accordingly. About a year ago, they decided to get out of the e-reader business, and are no longer selling them online and or developing them. ARUS, they're a company based in Western Europe, and they have consistently been leading the charge in Android functionality for all their e-readers. They were an early adopter for Android on their entire product line. And one of the interesting aspects of ARUS is that they didn't just focus on 6-inch e-readers like most companies. They were all over the map, 6.8s, 7.8, 9.7s, and all different ones across the map. Prices obviously were according, depending on what screen that you wanted. In recent days, all of their e-readers are sold out on their website, and a lot of the long-standing employees that have worked at ARUS from almost day one have all been leaving the company. Are they getting out of the e-reader business? Well, they haven't really released anything really new in 2018, so it remains to be seen whether they are RIP or not, but we have to pay attention more to this. Sony, they were a company that predated Amazon in releasing e-ink based devices. Sony was the juggernaut in the e-reader industry. Consistently every year they released multiple devices, but it wasn't really until their 600, 300, or the 650, PRS 350, the daily edition, that they really came into their own with Wi-Fi integrated bookstores. Sony always really had really polished, really solid industrial design when it came to making their e-readers. Sony started getting to be a little bit downhill once they started getting to their T series, T1, T2, T3, which were the last e-readers that they ever made. They got out of the e-reader business about 4 or 5 years ago. They sold all of their customer data to Kobo, and Kobo kind of picked up the slack. Sony is still making e-readers, but they gravitated away from consumer e-ink based devices and embraced more of the professional ones. In fact, they were the first company to start making professional devices with the advent of the Sony digital paper. But Sony, once a really great company involved in the e-reader arena, but they really just couldn't compete against all of the US market, which is really what they were focusing on. Amazon. There's no company that's more synonymous with modern day e-readers than the Kindle. When people think of e-readers and you mention companies like Kobo or Onyx, they may not know what you're talking about, but everyone at least has heard about the Amazon Kindle before, even though that they may have not held one or used one. They have a dominant market share, 75% in the States, 95% in the United Kingdom. Amazon releases a number of e-readers every single year. Sometimes they skip a year, but for the most part, their e-readers are very high tech, very polished. They have social media integration when they purchase Goodreads. They have audiobook functionality via their Audible unit, which they bought a dozen years ago, so you can now listen to audiobooks via Bluetooth headphones. Amazon consistently does very interesting things, x-ray people and places and things in a book. They have apps for every major platform that are kept up to date weekly and very polished. It's hard to really keep track of Amazon news. The Amazon Kindle is the gold standard when it comes to e-reader design and sales. There's really no matching them, and there's really no competing against them. Everyone else is just competing over the scraps. And Amazon's dominant market share and market visibility, as well as brand name recognition, has really been the nail in the coffin for a lot of these smaller startups, a lot of these companies that have been in the e-reader business for a long time. There's no way that you can compete against them when it comes to sales. They sold in 2017 over $519 million worth of ebook sales just within a 12-month period, and everyone else was 50 million, 30 million, and so on. So obviously Amazon is the number one company in terms of sales and everything else. So this has been our top 5 list, as well as honorable mentions. Did we omit your favorite company? We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And for goodereader.com and the top 5 companies still in the e-reader business, my name is Michael.